Alright everyone, Kaz Elkin back again, video 2 of my Beginner to Pro series, and this time I'm going to be covering language selection. What languages I've chosen as a beginner, what languages I'm going to focus on. At the start of my Beginner to Pro journey, I'm going to be covering why I picked these languages and kind of things that you might want to take into consideration if you're also out there picking your first coding language as well. There's quite a lot to consider, and this is the first time that you're really going to get knowledge checked as a beginner, because you find that a lot of these videos that try and help you out and picking your first program language, and these kind of articles that you might read have some assumed knowledge built into them that you genuinely might not have if you just don't have any experience at all. And this is something that I've found coming up with some of these beginner materials, but I'm going to try and help you break it down today and give you, maybe a bit of a roadmap to picking your first programming language, bearing in mind that I have not actually done any programming yet. I've just chosen the two languages that I'm planning on using. As I said, this is going to be the first time beginners are really going to get knowledge checked for the first time in their coding career, and this is something that I've experienced while picking my first languages as well. If you're like me, you have no experience, so you just don't know what the best language is, and that's as simple as it gets, really. A lot of these videos can try and help guide you, but many of them end up recommending different languages to one another anyway, so it can get a bit difficult to know who to trust or to know kind of what you're looking for in a beginner language. You'll probably end up learning that some languages are designed to do different things, so like some are front end and some are back end, but I mean, that means fuck all when you're a beginner anyway. It means fuck all to me. So you probably don't even know what end to care about, which is definitely something that I've experienced. Having said that, I have managed to narrow it down to two languages. I'm going to learn Python and JavaScript, and I picked these for a few reasons. First, they're the most in-demand languages around at the minute, and from what I can gather, they have the most kind of job opportunities attached to them as languages. If you go online, a quick search, you'll be able to see that Python developers and JavaScript developers are in demand at the minute. And as this is the Beginner to Pro series, where I'm aiming to go from being a total novice, 0 hours experience, to getting someone to pay me to do this, that is a key consideration for me, and it's one that's largely led my decision here. Python and JavaScript just seem to be the most kind of prolific languages in terms of job opportunities. Python in particular is also pegged as being one of the best beginner languages. A little bit of research to tell you that a lot of people say it's very beginner friendly, it's very user friendly, it's a lot simpler to understand than other languages, which has also been a key factor in my decision to pick Python. So that, coupled with the fact that it's in high demand from employers, means that it's going to be a great beginner language, and it's kind of the main reasons why I've chosen it as my beginning language. JavaScript, on the other hand, is supposed to be a bit more difficult. I've heard online that JavaScript can be more difficult for beginners, and it can have a steeper learning curve. However, notwithstanding the steeper learning curve, it is also, once again, in demand for employers, so that's another key reason for picking it. My aim is to try and go from beginner to pro, and if I picked a language that nobody really wants or nobody really uses anymore, or is so new that a lot of employers just aren't looking for it at the minute because it's so new, that wouldn't be a very good approach to have in terms of trying to find a job as a software developer in the future. Another key consideration is that because they're older, as far as I can tell, although they're older, they're still very popular, and there's a huge bank of free resources out there. Now, this is just what I've come across. I mean, someone out there might tell me that I'm wrong, but as far as I can tell, these languages have kind of like the healthiest store of free resources out there. There are lots of free courses, there are lots of YouTube videos dedicated to these two languages, and that is probably because they have been around a little bit of time by now, and the fact that employers seem to want them so much. So, that is also another key factor that's really influenced my decision here. Although I've ended up picking JavaScript and Python, other things that I do think are relevant for other beginners to think about, whether or not you've got a particular project in mind. If you have a particular project in mind, something that you've already decided that you want to build, then the language that you choose for yourself might be different to what I've chosen here. I don't have something in mind that I already want to build. I just want to learn how to code get into this world of software design, software development, and try and find a job, trying to make a career switch. But if you've got a project in mind, either an app or a game or a website or whatever, you might find that a different language is going to be a lot better for you, and that Python and JavaScript won't be the best languages to start with. So, bear that in mind and think about the reason why you're getting into this. If you're just looking for a tabula rasa, good coding language to start with, I mean, I've decided to start with Python and JavaScript, but you could come to a different conclusion just as easily. A second thing that I think is relevant for other beginners out there as well is think about whether or not you know anyone who's good at another language. I don't really know anyone in the software space, or I don't know anyone well enough that I could call them up if I had a problem and shoot them what I've done, what I've been working on, and kind of ask for help. But you might, one of your good pals might be fantastic at C or PHP or whatever. They might have loads of experience, and you might be close enough to them that you can just ask for help whenever. And in that case, I would definitely say think about picking up a language that they're familiar with as well, so that you can learn from them and that you can ask for some help when you need it. Something that I don't really have. I don't really have access to. I don't know anyone in this space, but you might, and that could be another hugely relevant thing when deciding what language for you to start with. So that's it. Going forward, I will be focusing on Python and JavaScript. Could change, and if it does, I'll let you know. But those are the two languages that I've got in my mind that I'm gonna focus on as a beginner now. The next video that you can expect is going to be my resource selection video, where I basically tell you, what online things I've paid for, what on free online resources I plan on using, what books I'm using, so that you can see the kind of total amount of resources that it is that I'm planning on relying on for these first few weeks as a beginner at least. So yeah, keep an eye out for that coming soon, and I'll catch you next time.